Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the secrets Wall Street doesn't want you to know. Today we're looking at a company that's just taken a huge leap, diving headfirst into that big public market. Get ready because we're dissecting Curanex Pharmaceuticals' latest filing, and it's all about their very first public dance. They've just wrapped up their initial public offering, or IPO, which is basically when a private company decides to sell shares of itself to the public for the very first time. Imagine a startup saying, okay, the world, here are our pieces of the company, buy them if you want to be part of our journey. This report, a Form 8K, is like a special announcement bulletin from the company to the government, and well, it signals that something significant has happened, and in this case, it's the big close of their IPO. The big day was August 27, 2025, when Curanex Pharmaceuticals officially became a publicly traded company. They pushed out 3,750,000 shares of their common stock, which is like selling chunks of ownership in the company. Each share went for $4.00. So that's a pretty big number of pieces being sold to a lot of new owners. And where can you find these pieces of ownership? You can buy and sell them on the Nasdaq Capital Market, a pretty well-known place for companies to list their shares. The ticker symbol you'd look for is CARX. Remember that because it's how you'll track the company's performance from now on. Now, here's a little tidbit about Curanex. They're calling themselves an emerging growth company. This means they're still relatively new and growing, and there are some special rules that give them a bit more flexibility with reporting their financial information. Think of it as a bit of a grace period as they get their footing in the public markets. This filing number 333282686 is like their unique identification number with the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC. It's how officials keep track of all their official paperwork. And this number 8320744139, that's their IRS employer identification number, which is essentially their tax ID. This part just confirms they are following the rules laid out by the Securities Exchange Act of 1934, a pretty important law that governs how companies trade their stocks. The whole IPO process was managed through an underwriting agreement signed on August 25, 2025. Dominari Securities LLC was the main representative for the underwriters, which are the firms that help sell the shares to the public. So how much money did Curanex rake in from this IPO? They sold those shares at $14 each, and with 3,750,000 shares, that means they got a massive $15 million right off the bat. That's the gross amount, meaning before any costs. But like anything in business, there are costs involved. After paying for things like underwriting discounts and other expenses, the company actually pocketed about $12,114,369. That's still a very healthy chunk of change. Imagine you're baking a cake and spend money on ingredients and gas to deliver them. The net profit is what you have left after all those costs. After all these shares were sold, Curanex now has a total of 27,750,000 shares of its common stock in the hands of investors. That's the total ownership pie. The final details of the offering, the roadmap for investors, were filed with the SEC on August 26, 2025. This document gives all the essential information about the stocks and the company itself. They also put out a press release on the same day to announce this big move. It's like the official announcement party for their entry into the public market. This press release is attached as Exhibit 99.1 to this filing, which means it's an important piece of the puzzle that helps explain the event. And then there's Exhibit 104, which is essentially a digital file containing all the important information from the cover page, formatted in a way that computers can easily read and understand. Think of it as a digital fingerprint for the document. Finally, signing off on this report is Jun Liu, the Chief Executive Officer. As the CEO, he's the captain of the ship, and his signature means that the company officially acknowledges and stands by the information in this report. So what does this all mean for Curanex Pharmaceuticals? They've successfully navigated the complex process of going public. They've raised a significant amount of capital, about $12 million after costs, which they can now use to fuel their growth, perhaps for research and development, expanding their operations, or bringing new products to market. This is a huge step for any company, signaling a new era of transparency and public scrutiny. However, being a public company also means they'll be under a microscope, with investors and analysts constantly watching their performance. They've got the capital, but now the real challenge begins begins delivering on the promise of their pharmaceutical development, expanding their operations, or bringing new products to market. This is a huge step for any company, signaling a new era of transparency and public scrutiny. However, being a public company also means they'll be under a microscope, with investors and analysts constantly watching their value to a much wider audience. It's a high-stakes game, and while raising money is a great start, the real test is how they use these funds to build a sustainable and profitable business. We'll be watching them closely. What's your take on Curanex's IPO? Do you think they're set for success, or will they face tough challenges? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into the corporate world. And hey, join our Discord community for more real-time discussions and insights. We share a lot of valuable information there every day. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next episode of Corporate Decoder.